Hey all, this is Paul Carter. This is my module 17 for AEP 858. So I made mine specific to my current school. I feel like this is good practice, making it specific for school, as well as I'm going to be sharing this with my administrator, see what he thinks, and potentially using it through our PLC process that we are in right now. But for my data protocol and how the order we would do things in my chart that I created, first we would create goals so that we could then know what we're assessing, so that we can assess our students. Then after assessing, we can take that data that we collect and we can analyze it. Then we can identify the strengths and weaknesses as we're identifying it, to then create that action plan and intervention. And then we can see how that worked. We can reevaluate it and reflect on how effective it was before we move on to creating new goals. All of this is surrounding our essential question of what is best for our students and our school vision there. So the data analysis protocol that I would give to my teachers so that they could use would be this. And we would use this in our PLC process so that we could be more effective. So our guiding question here for creating our goals would be, what is our purpose? Do our goals align with our school vision? Is there research to back up our goals? Where do we want our students to be? And then teachers could take notes. I would probably give this to them digitally. It'd be the easiest for them. And then we could assess our students. That next portion, our guiding questions for this area would be, what assessment will we be using? Is this actually the best assessment for the type of data we need? Is our assessment aligned with state standards and student learning targets? If it's not, do we even need to give this? And then what depth of knowledge are we assessing? How deep are we trying to get into this information? Then we could then take that data we collected and we could start analyzing it by these guiding questions. Have we compared our student learning data to other forms of data? We learned that in this course. We can't just focus on one. How will we organize the data to make it more user-friendly, especially if we're going to disseminate it to other stakeholders? And then who is meeting our goals and who is not meeting our goals, so we can start the identification process, because then we need to identify our strengths and weaknesses. Did we celebrate our successes? Learn that we have to do that in this course, and that's a step that's normally skipped. Are there any achievement gaps? What, if anything, needs to be retaught? Which student groups are identified as high and low? We always talk about the low. We never really seem to focus on the high. We then need to create an action plan and interventions by asking ourselves, what are we going to do in regards to the achievement gap? How are we going to shrink that? How do our findings affect the learning strategies we utilize in the classroom? So what are we doing in the classroom based off this data? And what interventions are needed for those high-performing kids and those low-performing kids? Lastly, we're going to reevaluate and reflect by asking, did all students meet our goals? What worked well? What could we improve in the future? And do we still have any of those achievement gaps? If we do, then we could make those changes. I feel like these resources, this data analysis protocol, could be adapted for any subject. You wouldn't really have to adapt it much. It's pretty generic, but you could make it more specific if you needed to.